Hi, good evening. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live. Hi, good evening. Again, I am the host of the show. My name is Jay Rothman. I'd like to welcome my co-host this evening. We have Josh Richard coming in from somewhere in the world. We have Jeff Fasano joining us from Nashville, Tennessee. And of course, Everslove Heath, the man of the land from down under. He calls Australia home. Welcome to the show, guys. Good to see you tonight.
Thank you.
I guess you can call all of us were somewhere in the world.
That's a true statement, but we do know if any of you guys have been watching us before, Josh Richards in a different set this evening. He actually set the mood, got the Christmas tree behind him, some of the Christmas decorations up, and tonight's show is all about the holiday season. We are in the holiday season. A week from today will be Christmas, and so we thought it would be a beautiful time to really deep dive into what the holidays have meant for us in our lives and what it means for us today. And basically it's about, is the holiday season a blessing or a burden in your life? So again, welcome to the show, guys. Anything happened for any of you this week that stands out that you just kind of want to put out there in the universe? Otherwise we'll get going in the show.
Let's dive in, man.
All right, here we go.
Let's dive in, bro. Let's dive in.
All right. Well, some of the hot spots I want to touch on tonight, make sure that we dig into is, do you find yourself having heightened anxiety or stress this time of year? 2020 has, in fact, created a different kind of holiday season. Zoom is the new home for gathering of millions. How are you celebrating the season, and are you triggered by it? Is this your first holiday without a loved one or one who may have passed away? What's your role in your family system and its impact on your holiday when you do get together with family members? And then, of course, how can you show up in the season and bring it? And last but not least, what role can or should boundaries play in your family get together? This is a hot topic. We've all been there. We've all had those moments during the holiday season where we're just absolutely excited to be in it. And perhaps there may be times where we wish it would just be over. And so, Josh, since you're sitting right next to me, I thought I'd invite you to warm us up and get us going tonight.
Sure. Well, yeah, we talked about this in the pre-show, and it was like, are you dreading the holidays? Are you dreading getting together with family? I mean, we know that you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family, right? And so what does that trigger in us? And is our family a trigger for us? Or are we really looking forward to getting together with them? I know together is different this year, and that all bets are off and the norm is totally out the window. So some of you may be having the holidays alone. And what does that mean? And how can we navigate that and still find joy and still find connection and togetherness, even though we aren't possibly in the same room with our family too? So we're going to cover a lot tonight. But yeah, it's like, how can we find our peace and our happiness through the silly season? Whether it's a joy or a trigger for you, we're gonna open this up and go talk about all of it.
Beautiful. Hey, Josh, what has the holidays been like for you? I know obviously in your adult years, it's a whole lot different than your younger years. But what would you say are for you? Is it a peaceful time in your life, or does it bring some other things with it that aren't so pleasant?
Sure. Last year I actually spent Christmas alone for the first time, I think, ever in my entire life. And So yeah, it's funny. I found my brain kind of going to the dark side and wallowing in the woe is me. I'm not with my family. But I sort of snapped out of it. I knew that I have control over that mental spiral, and I took myself out to the beach and to the Malibu Pier, and there were lights and it was beautiful, and I enjoyed seeing other people together and celebrating in that together, and so I was able to get myself out of it. But for me in the past, yeah, family's been a big part of the season, and whether it's getting together with my mom and her side of the family, or with my dad and my stepbrother and stepsister, and of course my sister's always there, and so it's usually a joy and togetherness time. And of course there's family stuff too, but I think for us we celebrate pretty well.
Beautiful.
Nice, man. Yeah, 100% with you there, my brother. I came in with a video this morning. I talked a little bit about, probably a few years ago now, I actually spent a Christmas or two alone. It was out of choice. And I said this morning in a video, because of a belief system that I'd come into within my journey. And it was really, in the whole reason why we do celebrate this time of the year. As a deep thinker in the metaphysics, and really zoning into why we put energy into this particular time of the year was starting to really become important in my life. And look, once I got past, those couple of years, and it was little things like seeing the family photos, not being a part of that family photo, that probably triggered me into get past that part of me. Which I've, come to really realize it was a part of the ego. So even if it may not have been a part of my belief system, while we do celebrate this particular time of the year, to me, it is that beautiful connection, that beautiful oneness, that beautiful opportunity and time, particularly in this year, 2020, the year of plenty, when most of us been told to self-isolate. The psyche of each of us as human beings has been tested, my brothers and sisters, like nothing ever on this planet before this year, 2020. So for me this year, man, I'm letting the head down. I'm celebrating with my family. I'm really making sure that I'm going to be that party person for my family, and make sure that, I'm an integral role in being able to bring that connection as the family member in that circle.
Love that.
Very cool.
I've
spent a few Christmases by myself alone, and I used to go through it and really get down. Even last Christmas, it was, I'm alone. It would just always make me feel I'm alone, which I don't feel any other day. Any other day out of 365 days. And I found that really interesting. Why am I feeling this aloneness at this time of year? I'm not feeling that this year, but last year it really, really hit me. I did spend it with friends, but there's a part of me that I live in Nashville, so I don't have family here. And I used to have family in Los Angeles. My family's back in New York, and it was that one day when I would come towards Christmas, a couple of days, this emptiness would come over me, and I just would go through it last year, and an emptiness that I was wondering why at this time of year I'm feeling that. I'm alone. Why am I alone? Why am I alone? And I've worked on that for a while. Well, this year, I didn't even feel that at all. And the reason why I bring that up is because I just wonder why. Why this one holiday, it brings up so much in people. So much in people. And I just find that really, really interesting at this time of year.
Definitely too, at the back end of the year, you got to think every year, unlike this year, we come to the end of the year and a lot of people are just so burnt out, Jeff. You know, but many of us, you know, we have had the opportunity to be in pause this year, and it's going to be interesting, you know, how we do celebrate, and if we do celebrate, or is it just going to be another day? Look, these are going to be big questions, and you know, just here in the land down under, we've got one of the major cities, Sydney, just about to go into another lockdown. You know, 4 or 5 days out before Christmas, man. It's pretty. So we're being tested, my brothers and sisters. We're being tested.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think, I mean, that sort of begs the question, to break it down. What does this mean? What is, you know, like we were talking about, that connection and that togetherness and that need as human beings, for us to have that connection. So how can we carry that through this time? You know, what are tools we can use, or things that we can use to have that togetherness that we need as human beings?
That's a good question, Josh. You know, it's this time of the year is, I think can be really challenging for people.
Yeah.
For a number of reasons. I think we should just really kind of really just dig in and really focus on, for some people, it is a season of joy, which is a blessing. For others, it's a very difficult time to get together with family members. And the question really comes down to, well, why is that? I mentioned in the opening about what role do we play in our family system? What role do we play in the birth order in our family? And when we show up at our home with our siblings, how does that play out? Anyone have any experience with that, as far as how you show up in your family home for a holiday, and who's showing up? Is it you showing up as the chronological age 40, 50, 60 something year old? Or is it your younger self showing up in that moment with memories of how it was, maybe seeing some family members, seeing some health decline, whether it be physical or emotional health declines? Are we able to, in that moment, enjoy the holiday, and or does it impact us? Does it affect us in the moment? Do we have other emotions that come up about either past holidays, past memories, or where maybe one of our family members may be? How much does alcohol and drugs, if that is flowing in a home, how much does that play into the experience for many, many people? Do some people drink too much? Do some people show up drunk? Do some of our relatives show up high? And how does that impact our experience? I'm putting that out there, guys, because, you know, I've spent enough time in the rooms. I've spent enough time in 12-step rooms, and I've heard the story. I've heard them more than once. And so it really just comes down to knowing that. Can we show up in our parties, in our homes, and can we turn it into a positive experience? Can we turn it into one where we can be at peace and come from love for our family members and friends? And or at times, is it too difficult?
You know, when I was growing up, my father hated Christmas.
Why is that, Jeff?
Because his reasoning is when he was growing up, they never had a Christmas because they couldn't afford Christmas.
There you go.
And when he would see other families around them getting gifts and stuff like that, he grew up in a family with 8 brothers and sisters, plus him, Depression era kids. And my father grew to hate Christmas. And when this time of year would roll around, you could I used to start to feel that as one day would get to the next, and one day we get to the next. And my father had a few meltdowns on Christmas.
Mm.
And,
Wow.
and I just remember that as a kid at certain times. And he carried that for a long time, And because he goes, we never had a Christmas. We couldn't afford a Christmas. And so he went into that. Plus, he didn't like the commercialism of it, as I don't. You know, it's about something, but the commercialism of it is also something within that. But I grew up with that, and but my mother, on the other hand, had wonderful Christmases, and she's the one who celebrated everything. She's the one who put up the tree, and she did all of that. As a matter of fact, my brother just sent me a photo that he just found of Christmas on Staten Island, Jay, in 1962. He sent me that photo of me at 4 years old and my brother at 2 years old.
Wow.
With my mother. My father took the photo, and my brother's looking at it. Here's the interesting part. My brother's looking at the photo, and he's talking to me about it. He goes, yeah, I remember this. And I look at me in that photo, and I went, wow, I had a totally different experience than my brother did. It was really, really interesting of his experience and my experience of it.
Wow.
And yeah, it was really interesting hearing his voice and the excitement in his. I don't remember that bike. But I remember those. I go, yeah, I remember. But there was excitement about it, and I'm getting. Man, I remember when my father threw temper tantrums on Christmas, and that carried over in my life to a certain point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd like to take a moment here, Jeff. As you take a moment to breathe, take a nice deep breath in. I'd like to welcome our viewers this evening. Thank you for joining us on Real Men Real Talk Live. If you hear something that you like or would love, please tap your love button on your monitor and light us up, because when you light us up, it takes us to a whole nother level. And so that's what we could use tonight. We all want to be lit up. If you have any questions for Jeff, Josh, Evis, or myself, please drop it down in the comments as well. Some of the comments that are coming in, one of them that seems to be repeating is a commercialism of the holiday. And have we lost really what the holiday is about? So many people feel obligated, families, to exchange gifts and spend money that, especially in 2020, may be difficult. And so how do you navigate through those feelings of knowing that maybe this year you can't really afford to spend the kind of money that maybe you've spent in years past, yet you feel either obligated or pressure to still show up. And so what do we do? What do you do? Do you spend money? What do you think, Ev?
Well, isn't that just commercialism 101? That's what we've grown up in, brothers and sisters. We've been growing up in a consumerism society versus a creative society. Man, 2020 is a year to be really lit on Josh's Christmas tree right there. You know, if we think about it, the real gift is what, my brothers and sisters? It's the present. That is the present. So you just turning up should be enough. You know, you don't have to have these pressures to be able to buy this and buy that. You know, the true gift is your presence. Just bringing your energy into that circle would be enough. And I think, and really until this year, 2020, you know, the commercialism side, it definitely has been there. But man, I've gone to a couple of shopping centers just recently, and it's quiet, man. It's quiet. So it's going to be very interesting. And yeah, look, there is that side of it as well, that I guess we really try and make that more gift side for the children. I guess as we get a little bit more older along the timeline, that, you know, the real gift is really just turning up.
Ev, I love
And
what
I guess
you said. Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead. Jump in, buddy.
I was gonna say, I guess it all depends too if we have shame wrapped up in it. In the fact that we can't afford and we can't do what we normally do or do what we'd like to do for other people. You know, is it our internal struggle that creates that shame?
There you go.
I love what you said, Ev. Like, let the gift be the gift. Let the gift be the gift of the present.
There you go,
I mean,
brother.
that is so beautiful, because we, not only in the holiday season but throughout the year, we tend to get so caught up in the commercialism of life, of chasing the dream, that we forget the essence of truly what brings us the greatest joy, what brings us the greatest the greatest connection in life is just that. It's connecting.
Yeah.
It's being present so that we can connect with the people in that moment that we are surrounded by, whether we are in the same environment physically, or in 2020, if it means that we are doing it through a FaceTime or a video. I got to share a quick story. I had a doctor's appointment today, and it was a phone appointment. It was the first time I've done a phone appointment, and she was just going to call me on the phone, and I reached out to the office and I was like, "Do you guys do Zoom with your patients? Like, I'd like to see the doctor. I don't want to just have a phone call with her," which is like the only thing worse than that is texting, getting my results through a text. And her office manager said to me, "You are the first patient that's ever asked us for a Zoom." And I'm like, okay, well, I'm surprised by that. I didn't tell her that, but I said, "I'm happy to set it up. I'll send you the link." And it was absolutely beautiful. I mean, I could see my doctor. We could communicate. We can connect. And I advocate that not just for doctor's appointments because of COVID. I advocate that for all of our relationships in our life. Like, it's time to take our relationship to the next level. My mom is another example. My mom, you know, she has some challenges sometimes figuring out how to use some of this technology. But I make it a point to hit video chat as often as I can in Messenger, hopeful that she'll be able to pick it up so that I could see her, because she lives across the country. And I think there's where the gift comes in, Ev, as you shared. The gift is in the present. And instead of us thinking about, going to thoughts about all the things that haven't worked well in our life in the past that we can't change, let's focus on what we can change. And what we can change is how we show up in this moment. And as I said in the intro, let's bring it on. And how I bring it on is real simple. Before I step in to an experience, to an event, to a party, to a dinner, I set an intention. Here's a liquid gold moment for you guys. I set the intention, and the intention is that I want to show up with dignity and grace. And I want to leave with my dignity and grace intact. And I want to come from love and kindness. That's it. Those four things: love, kindness, dignity, and grace. And how I get there is I set the intention when I pull up in a car and before I go in. And it has changed so many of my experiences, even the most difficult ones that I've had to face in the last 5 years.
Yep.
Magic, brother.
Beautiful.
And leave with your dignity and grace. Now, there's a liquid gold right there, my brother.
Yeah, because right then in that moment, Ev, that's freedom. There's
There you go, brother.
Freedom comes when we don't have to leave and feel, beat ourselves up, go to shame, go to guilt. Like we said something that we already regret. You know, we're thinking because someone triggered us in a moment, and so we're gonna put on our boxing gloves and defend ourselves or defend a parent or a sibling, when we don't need to do that. That's not our role. Our role is to show up. If somebody needs to be defended, they have to show up and grow up and learn how to defend themselves in a family, holiday season dinner, let's say. What we can do is show up, as our best version of ourselves. What do you make of that, Jeff Fasano?
Oh, okay, so I don't know. Hold on, I'm gonna have to watch the replay.
I don't think that's true. I call BS.
So what at the beginning, what hit me was joy when you said joy. And isn't this supposed to be, quote unquote, a season of peace and joy? Peace and joy. And if we can all set that intention in the next week or after the show, that in this season, from tomorrow morning into Christmas, that my intention is peace and joy. Whatever that is for each individual, for us, is peace and joy. This is going to be peace and joy. And we're going to move into this in peace and joy. And then let that begin with you. What is peace and joy for me in this next period? What is peace and joy for me on Christmas? Maybe you'll make different decisions and choices, but if we stay with what brings me the greatest amount of joy in this period coming up, maybe that is what's going to shift the energy and vibration of wherever we're going, wherever we have to do, and even if we're spending it alone.
Beautiful.
There you go. There you go, Jeff.
Denise says, now more than ever, it's time to practice compassion. And we could end that with compassion and love. You know, Jeff, to your point, what do you guys make about if, let's say, you've recently have had a loved one that's transitioned or passed away, and this is going to be the first holiday that you have to step into the holiday season that you can't turn off. It's here, yet you have this the feeling of loss. You're grieving. How do we get through those moments?
It's interesting you say that. I've actually just had a friend the last 2 days. His father passed away, Jay, and he hadn't really spent a whole lot of time with his father, but only this year got to spend a bit of time with him. And you know, I've obviously offered my condolences to him. He's a close brother of mine, and you know, I seem to think, you know, how is he going to, you know, does he celebrate this time of the year, or does he, you know, stay in that side where, you know, obviously we have to go into mourning for the loved one. You know, I think it really does come down to the individual in how, you know, we see life and death. You know, if someone has made the transition to me in the year 2020, man, this frequency was not high enough for them. They're going into higher places for sure. So my thing would be to celebrate the transition of this beautiful loved one. Celebrate the time that they were here with you. Celebrate the joy, happiness, peace, harmony that they did bring with you. Reflect on some of those beautiful moments as if they were here. Because this is us maturing as a human being and actually realizing that, okay, they may have transitioned physically, but what do we call this time of the year? We call it the spirit of Christmas, man. They're still in spirit. So really come from a place of your heart and, you know, be a bit more mature about the situation and obviously mourn that transition, but be able to also celebrate the life that they did live with you.
Yeah. What do you make of that, Josh, Richard?
Yeah, I'm also grieving the loss of someone very special, and yeah, it's tough to feel and not do anything. You know, I think we so often feel like we need to do something with energy like that, and we need to either distract ourselves or numb or push it away or stuff it down, and energy needs to move, and we need to allow that us, for one, give ourselves permission to feel and to grieve and to move through those feelings. And there's going to be highs and lows, and it's going to come in waves, but you also know that you can make it through it, and time heals all. So yeah, on top of Ev's beautiful messages of finding the nuggets and the amazing gifts that person has given us and others. Also, to just allow yourself to feel and let that energy flow. If you are in fact grieving this holiday season.
Yeah. It's about allowing all of your feelings at this time. It's like I said at the beginning of this time of year, naturally brings up a lot of stuff in all of us. And then if you're grieving someone else, it's going to bring up more stuff. So it's just about allowing yourself to have all of those feelings. And then if you can move into a place of celebration of that person. I've just had transition, and I've been thinking about them and their families and what they're going through. It's just about being with it. And if you're going to be getting together with people, tell some great, fun stories about how you have so much gratitude for that person, what they brought to your life, how they changed and enhanced your life. And like Eva said, their vibration couldn't handle this vibration any longer, and it's moving to a higher vibration.
Yeah. I really appreciate what you all three of you have shared in this segment about how to navigate through the holiday season when you have faced recently and the loss, a passing of someone. Ev, if I may paraphrase what I heard you say, we have a choice in this moment to embrace the holiday feeling somewhat in lack, as opposed to embracing the memories, the gifts, even if they were small, the small gifts that you got to experience through the touch, through the locking of eyes, maybe a hug, the words spoken by your friend or loved one. And allow that to be enough to celebrate what they gave you, even if it was a short season. But understand that, Eva, I think you also said this is our time to really to mature, to grow up. And at the same time, Jeff, you said it's important that we don't dismiss our feelings, give ourselves permission to acknowledge them, to feel them. But again, my suggestion is that after we do that, we don't stay in it. We rise above, because that is what our friend and or loved one would want us to do, to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think we get hung up in society, modern society. So many of us have not been taught how to honor the transition of a friend or a loved one in a healthy way. And so that's my take on it, as far as navigating through the season when we have someone that's not going to make it, be there this year for that reason. I'd like to really dive a little bit into the family system, as far as what is that really about? I mentioned birth order and how we show up and who's showing up. How did any of you guys have an experience in your own families? Jeff, you kind of touched on it a little bit. As far as when we show up in our families, as soon as we walk in the door, I don't care if you're 55, 45, 65, when you step back into that home and your siblings are there, and if you're, whoever is still there in that moment, so many of us fall into let's call it the unwritten agreement. The agreement that we signed up for when we were birthed into the family. And even in friendships, even if our holiday festivities are not with family, but with friends, even in friendships, there are roles that we all play. How does that affect? How has it affected our holiday season? And how can we change our relationship with our role, our unwritten agreement in our families and in our friendships?
You know, I think that might be the biggest of all. And the word that comes up for me is obligation. Am I obligated to go and spend time with my family or a certain part of my family, but I'm doing it out of obligation and I might not really even want to be there because it's out of a tradition, out of obligation. And for me personally, many years ago, I used to spend Christmas with a certain part of my family, and I wasn't enjoying myself. I was doing it out of obligation because I thought I had to do it, and I would be there, and I never really felt that invited or wanted, or and it didn't matter. And I realized I was just sitting there and eventually just sitting by myself. And it came to the point where I said, you know what? If I spend Christmas with anyone next year, this is a long time ago. This is almost 15 years ago. I want to spend it where I'm wanted, appreciated, respected, and have dignity and grace within it. And when I was doing that 15 years ago, none of that was there. So I made a choice to spend Christmas and the holidays in a different way with people, not being my family or my immediate family, with people who invited me and said, we would like you to be there. We want you to come and spend time with us. So I was looking at the obligation. Oh, that's what we have to do. That's what we should do. And then I realized, no, you know what? Like I said earlier, peace and joy. That's where I'm going to head. And then I shifted and I realized I enjoyed my holidays more because I was asked to come. I was invited to come. And there was a similar resonance and vibration around it that worked for me more than the obligation of being
We're losing Jeff. We lost you on audio. You may want to jump out.
I think we lost everybody.
Well,
no, I think we lost everybody.
That may be true. I don't know. But thank you for sharing that, Jeff. I'd like to invite Evis to share from your perspective what role let's say the unwritten agreement that we sign up for in our relationships, and how does that impact? How can we change our relationship with our past agreement in our family systems?
100%. You need to change the relationship with yourself. This is really understanding where you are on your own journey.
Yep.
Now, if you still feel obligations to be at a celebration, to a holiday, you got to start asking yourself questions. What do I feel the obligation? Is this based on past conditioning, past programming? Man, I don't even know if it's a cultural thing, but we're pretty laid back here in the land down under, and I haven't really experienced that within my family. You know, I mentioned at the start of the show that, if there was an obligation, I made my own stand and, respectfully declined from attending a couple of Christmas gatherings. So I really do feel that it does come down to the individual, the person, where they are on their own journey.
Yeah, it's tough. I've seen there's two things that are hard. When I went through my crash, my emotional and financial crash, I went from the peacemaker in the family to the one that everybody worried about. And there was all that talk going on outside of me and, you know, my folks talking to my sister and my sister talking to them and all of that, especially when I went through treatment for alcohol abuse. And so I became the focus of worry. And then as I used my breakdown as my breakthrough and, you know, stepped into that awareness and moved into an awakened, more aware role, started dealing with my past traumas and my past stories and things like that. As I grew, what I found was difficult, and to all my brothers and sisters out there who are doing the work and putting in the work, and when you are forced back into a family setting where people hold an old picture of you, and they're holding an old version of you that you don't fit anymore. And whether it be their worry or doubt, or whether it be an old role that you played as the peacemaker, or sometimes it's uncomfortable to be reminded of who you were as you grow. Sometimes it's, you know, we grow so gradually, but then we don't see family for a year. And then all of a sudden we come back and there's that juxtaposition between the old you and the new you. And family has trouble with it for sure, because they haven't seen you, or but it's also hard. We have to honor that that's a little tough in ourselves. We might not like the person that we were. And it is a little jarring or traumatic to be thrust into this reminder of who you were or what you did. And so to all of my brothers and sisters who have gone through a transition period in your life, I feel you. It's hard to be in a position where you're held in an old role, but you are a new person. You're wanting everybody to see this beautiful new person that you are, and you're so excited to show them, and you show up at the door and they're stuffing you into an old box. And so, yeah,
Wow.
that's a challenge too.
That's absolutely spot on. Josh Richer, bringing it home one more week on Real Men, Real Talk Live. That was absolutely beautiful the way you framed that out. And so here's the question. You step in, you're not who you were a year ago. None of us are, whether we realize that or not. But those that have invested in themselves and done some significant work to improve how they feel about themselves and their life, what is it that you can do when you step into that environment knowing that it's simple, not easy. It's not going to be easy because unknowingly there's this energy field you're going to be battling or fighting in that moment. How do you not battle it? How do you embrace it so that you can have a different memory this year? Ev, what do you think?
What's downloading for me, brother? Step in, but step out.
Yeah.
Come outside of yourself. Look outside of yourself at the scene. You know, we're in 5D consciousness now, and I teach this to people, to step outside of yourself based on those old programs, that person that you were a year before this year. You know, we've all grown this year. Well, hopefully we've grown. And one of those real gold nuggets that I help people with is to be able to do that very simple but so effective tool by stepping outside of yourself and then really playing out what it is, what within that scene, who is the person that you want to turn up as? Is it based on the old person that you were boxed in, like Josh said? Or is it the new version of yourself? We're getting that chance, my brothers and sisters.
What pops up, you know, Ev, what I have a bunch of questions because this is really starting to hit some home for me because, okay, we've all done a lot of work. We've all done a wonderful introspective process in our own personal lives to shift and change, heal our wounds, and grow. What if you walk into a situation where you've grown so much, you're not that same person that you were 5 months ago, a year ago, 4 years ago, and you've grown, and then all of a sudden you walk through the door and it's the same old, same old, same old.
Mhm.
Ev, is that question for Evis or Josh? Jeff?
That's for us, and that's for even everyone outside of, because I know what I've done in the past, but isn't, if we take Christmas out of it, and if we were to ask that question, what if you've done all this work and then a year from now, a bunch of friends said, let's get together, and you walk in and you're not that same person, but they're still living the, senior dance.
I'd like
And
to
you know what?
go ahead, Josh.
Yeah. So go ahead, Josh.
It took me a while, but you know what worked best for me was just to unapologetically own it. Own the new me and know that I have zero responsibility for how anyone feels. They are responsible for their feelings, their stories, and everything that they're creating in their minds. And I'm responsible for mine and mine only. And that's the most freeing feeling ever, is just to say, you know what? You can think whatever you want to think. I'm just going to be me.
Woo! I love that, brother. Felt that, man.
But do you stick around?
Mary Kelly says, wear your new shoes in style.
There you go.
Yeah. But the question is that you walk into that a situation, do all of that. Here I am, I'm here. Most of the time, I would imagine all of us would say, you know what? This is really, really not resonating for me. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? But you know what? I'm going to where it does.
There you go. Yeah, Jeff, what you just, that was a setup question, obviously.
Yeah.
And if I may paraphrase what I just heard you say, is that when you go in with a plan. Just like a sober alcoholic walking into a party or a dinner engagement has a plan, an exit plan. You don't go in without an exit plan. If something's not working for you, if something shifts and you're not feeling it, with love and kindness, you just say, it's time for me to go. And you don't have to make up an excuse. You don't have to give a reason why. We don't owe anybody a reason other than it's time for me to leave. Thank you very much. I appreciated the invite. I loved seeing you. Happy holidays. And that's how you leave with dignity and grace. You don't have to leave with any excuses, with any lies. You don't have to create a headache. You don't have to create another party. You don't have to create. You just have to speak your truth from love and kindness. Be grateful. And the greatest thing to be grateful for, Jeff, here's my true answer right now. When you can walk in and have the knowing how much you have grown by seeing where the energy in a room is, and you now wearing a new set of lenses, it's like you just got a new pair of eye frames. In that moment, instead of going to all the negative and judgment of everybody else, no, that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting go to gratitude. Go to gratitude for how much progress you and I have made in this last time since we've seen these people we love, and be grateful for the growth we've had, so that we're not leaving in lack, but we're leaving in gratitude one more time.
There you go. There you go.
Right?
Jay Roth, the man, breaking it down.
Mm-hmm.
Love it, brother. Love it.
Sherry Ellison says, that's how I do it, Jay. Beautiful.
Have an exit plan.
Abigail Engel says, I'm grateful for this hour to look at what's working in my life. I feel a turning point in my life happening. Abigail posted an absolutely beautiful post. It's a long one now. I'm going to read it so that I don't cover you guys up. Well, as in another one I didn't see, it says, people are always trying to define me. I now explain that I see you need that from me, but that's your expectation of me, not my expectation of myself. Wow.
Whew.
Abigail, you are on fire. The girl's on fire. Anyone want to sing that tune? Go ahead. Wow. What do you make of that, guys? People are always trying to define me. I now explain that I see that you need that from me.
Mirror consciousness 101.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's the reflection. Beautiful.
You know, it's been a long time since I've spent a holiday with my immediate family. My parents, you know, moved on, passed away. And it has been a long time, because it's only my brother and me, that I've spent probably more than 15 years a holiday with my immediate family. And, you know, I don't know if that will ever happen again, because I don't live there. But what popped into my head is, wow, have they changed? I know, and I'm a person 15 years ago. Have they changed? Have they grown?
The beautiful thing is we can step into that, and we can hold space for them to change.
There you go.
Just as we'd hope they would hold space for us, but we don't expect. We just walk in as ourselves.
I know. I don't expect them to hold space. I don't think. You know, it's really interesting, Josh. I'm not dissing on my family, but I don't even think if you said to them, "I'm here to hold a space for you," they would look at me and go,
"Which space?"
You're right. You're right, Jeff. Not a lot of my family would get that one either. But some would. Some would.
You know, one part that we haven't really touched on yet is the B word. Boundaries. Now we've kind of played with it a little bit tonight, but we really haven't honed in. We are coming up 8 minutes before the hour, almost up to the hour. With what time we do have left, let's touch a little bit on boundaries and why are boundaries important during the holiday season so that it becomes a blessing and not a burden, and how to create a boundary in a loving, kind way where we're not coming from anger and resentment. Josh, you want to jump on it?
Yeah, it's that. I mean, we've touched on it in so many episodes, but self-love is so important, and it makes setting those boundaries so much easier. I know that, you know, me living a lot of my younger life as a people pleaser and not wanting to rock the boat, and wanting to keep everybody happy and I was the peacemaker in my family. And so boundaries were rough, because that goes against creating peace. I saw that as creating a lot of waves. So it wasn't until I invited self-love in and really understood that concept and started to truly feel it, then boundaries become more natural. So if you do struggle with boundaries, I would urge you to steer your efforts into self-love and try that on for a while, and it will make setting boundaries easier. But boundaries are massive. We could absolutely do an entire episode on boundaries.
Yeah, and I've been advocating for that for many
you
years.
have.
I love what Taz James said. Taz James just said, boundaries are 365 days, no change for the season.
All year round, bro.
What does that mean to you, Ev?
Yeah, all year round, man. We're always talking about these self-care, healthy boundaries in place. But, you know, you come to this time of the year, and I think, like we said at the start of the show, a lot of people might want to let the hair down, and a lot of those boundaries just go outside the door, don't they? And that's why I keep saying it. It really does depend on the individual in honoring their own life and where they've expanded, if they have expanded and grown through the year. I mean, when you've put up that boundary, then you've been able to go into that environment and be able to, honor your own boundaries, not just for Christmas, but like our brother Taz has said out there, 365 all year round. That, my friends, is true freedom.
Yeah. Comes back to say, hey, Josh, I just want to ask you a question. Did you grow up in the same family I did?
We do. Jeff, we got so much of the same past. I swear, man, we are brothers from another mother.
Really, when you just said I was the peacemaker in my family, I just got 4,000 flashbacks
and triggers all at once, right?
Oh my God! Oh wow! I was like really, I was, and it drove me crazy after a while that I had to learn from that in my family. I was the go-between. I was the peacemaker. I had to learn how to set boundaries. I had to learn to set boundaries with my brother and my parents. It was like, because of all the stress it took on me just to keep the peace between everybody. And I had to learn how to set boundaries at a young age. I didn't know that they were boundaries. They were more, stop lines of demarcation. But it was, and it took it personally. I said, I can't take anymore. But but I go back to what Jay said earlier. When I'm in my car and I'm about to go in, I'm going in with dignity and grace. So right there, we're setting a boundary with ourselves. We're going to set boundaries with ourselves walking into a situation.
Beautiful.
As Jay said, peace, dignity and grace. Dignity and grace these are my boundaries.
Beautiful. Jeff, just to piggyback what you said, Abigail says, and she's on fire, no doubt. We're going to sing out. We're going to end our show tonight singing out Girls on Fire, She's on Fire. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. It's about respecting our own space the same way we want ours to be treated. It's teaching others who we are. By acknowledging that we are different now, we are honoring our higher self. The biggest fear that we have with setting boundaries is that the person will get angry at us. They will resist. They will push back. And that may be very true. However, that is when we start to experience what you called freedom. And there's another word that I love. We become superpower. We finally tap into our superpowers because we didn't think that we could set a boundary for ourselves and feel good. We would think that we'd set boundaries and we're scared of the outcome. But the outcome is a feeling of superpower and freedom because you finally realize in that moment that you're growing up. I lived a boundaryless life as an adult. And I finally was able to acknowledge it. I'm sure my mom may be watching or she'll catch on a replay. But I grew up in a home where discipline was very, very present and prevalent. And so I made a decision when adulthood arrived that I didn't want to have that level of confinement and boundaries around discipline. And so I went the opposite way. I didn't find the balance. I didn't go somewhere in the middle. I went to the other extreme. And as an adult, I had a boundaryless life. And it wasn't until I was in my mid-50s that I set my first boundary. And it was the most freeing experience that I had ever had. And at the time, it was with my wife, who today is my ex-wife. But that boundary actually is what saved my life. I said to her, I can't I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And we need to divorce. And she said to me, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to save this marriage. And here comes the boundary. I told her I love her. I loved her and I always will. But it's no longer about saving a marriage. It's about saving my life. Because I knew if I worked on saving a marriage, I wouldn't make it. There was too much damage had been done to me physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I needed to rebirth myself, by myself, for myself. And that was the first time I set a healthy boundary for me. And then I got to practice it even with my own mom. And the first time was really scary. But each time I got more power. Each time I felt better about myself. And I don't do it perfectly. Sometimes I miss the opportunity to set boundaries when it's appropriate. So I get to feel the pain, and then I get to recalibrate and come back and set a healthy boundary for myself. And so with that, that's my spin on boundaries. It's not for the other person. It's for ourselves, to protect ourselves. And it's a way to show, and when I say protect ourselves, it's really to protect our younger self, our inner child within that's been waiting a lifetime for someone to show up and show them love, nurture them, nourish them, honor them, respect them enough to say to someone outside of ourselves, no, thank you, no more. It's not good for me today. I love you, but it's not good for me. Mm-hmm. And that's the kindest way that I know how to set a boundary today. Mm. And so with that, Ev or Josh, either one of you guys have any final thoughts on boundaries? Otherwise, we're going to go to musical chairs and close out the show tonight.
Well, I think boundaries is.
It's a show. It's a show.
That was beautiful, though, Jay.
Yeah. Beautiful, bro. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. We're gonna go into musical chairs right now. This is the time of the show where you never know where you're gonna land, but when you land right to my side on the upper shelf of Jeopardy here, you got 2 minutes to either give us some tools for the holiday season, so it becomes a blessing and remains a blessing, or becomes a blessing and turn it in from a burden, and or your closing thoughts on our conversation this evening, or lessons that you've taken away in your own life. And so with that, I'm going to invite Jeff Fasano. You up and you on.
Cool. We're almost making it cat free. I think what comes to me, and I said it earlier, it's about joy, peace and joy. And because I'm going to be spending that day alone here, I'm looking at is what's going to bring me the greatest amount of joy that on Christmas Day, so to speak, and what's going to bring me peace, and what do I want to give to myself that day? What present do I want to give myself that day? And shifting the mindset that I need to be with some people, and like I said, we're living in a very different time this year, where there are going to be many people who aren't going to travel, if they travel to see their families, or even if it's 10, 15 miles away, and they're going to make a choice that says, listen, I'm sitting this out this year and I'm going to spend it alone, and for whatever reason that is. What I'm choosing to do is to really say, what brings me joy? What do I want to do? That might be, hey, my family, I want to set up a Zoom call with you and just connect with you today. Or I just want to be quiet and move within. We're moving to the end of the year. What did I accomplish this year? How have I shifted and changed this year? What are the presents that I can give myself in the present moment of now, based upon what's going on this year, and wake up and on that day, give yourself something that you've wanted to give yourself for a long time. give yourself something that morning that will raise your resonance and vibration, that will bring you to a place of fulfillment. So maybe looking back at the year and saying, where am I fulfilled in my life, as opposed to how have I survived to this point in time?
Beautiful.
There
Love
you
that.
go, brother.
Beautiful.
Deep, brother.
Let's just take a moment here just to process that.
I was totally taking that in. How have I survived
There you go.
until this point?
Yeah.
Wow.
Evis love.
Oh, we're diving in, my brothers. Well, that was beautiful, Jeff. Thank you, brother. Yeah, my brothers and sisters, thanks for joining us on another show here on A Real Men Real Talk Live. And as always, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. As we come into this holy day time of the year. Now, we didn't really touch on it tonight, and I think we need to really honor it in a way that is respectful for many people around the world that actually celebrate this time of the year for the birth of a person that we knew as the name Jesus. I think a lot of us, we've been celebrating a lot of these holy days very unconsciously. We this year, as human beings, as a species, have had no time like no other to really be able to consciously become aware of why we've been doing some things. Why have we been celebrating days like Christmas? Why do we celebrate some days like the East Star? Why do we celebrate these days? I'm a person of energy, and no matter what day of the year that we're celebrating, energy is going in towards this particular celebration. So for me, coming into this time of the year, we think of the 25th as the birth of this avatar we call Jesus. There are some beautiful things happening up in the sky right now. People might know them as the heavens or the headvens. We had that big solar eclipse that was at the start of the week. A lot of emotions. A lot of emotions this year, my brothers and sisters. Just on the moon's day here in the land down under, on your sun's day across the other side of the pond, we have two other big planets come into alignment. Very old planet that we know as Saturn, and another planet that we know as Jupiter. Saturn representing the old ways, the old father, the old time. We have Jupiter, the biggest planet out there, the representation of expansion, the representation of growth, the representation of a new way. I want to ask you, my brothers and sisters, have you birthed something new this Christmas? Are you going to be the birth of the Christ that is within you? Have you lit up your own Christmas tree through 2020? And no matter what obstacles, challenges, what other boundaries or disadvantages we may have gone through, have you been able to come through and come to this day of the year and celebrate the own Christ within you? So when we come on the 25th, whether you're celebrating it alone, whether you're celebrating it with family, make sure it's a celebration. Because this year, I think it's been a little bit different and there hasn't been too much to celebrate. So that's for me, my brothers and sisters. I hope you have a beautiful Christmas.
Beautiful. Jay, you're muted.
Josh, I think we're done. Show's over.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
Josh, I hate to do this to you, but how do we light it up? I mean, Ev, that's just absolutely beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
And she agrees.
Jeff's cat agrees.
Denise says every day is a day to celebrate. Yes, it is. Especially because, Denise, I know you have a beautiful someone special in your life, in your home with you for this Christmas season. We come up with special days, but really, we should be grateful and celebrate life every single day. Amen, sister, to that.
Beautiful.
The last message to my brothers and sisters who have created change this year, or who are in the process of change. You can change overnight. There are no rules. You can show up tomorrow as somebody completely different. You can shed the old, you can drop those layers, and you can unapologetically walk into a new you. And you don't have to explain a thing to anyone, friends, family, people you may see this holiday season, people you may not see for a while. You can own the new you, and that's perfectly okay. And we can release expectations of needing their love, approval, acknowledgement of that change, maybe their acceptance of that change, expecting them to shift and adjust as we have. We can let go of all of that, any need for that, any secondary gain on any approval, and we can just be proud of ourselves. We can look back on this year and acknowledge the struggle, the pain, the uncomfortable places we've been put into, and the amount that has pushed us to grow. And we can honor that growth and be proud of where we stand today and walk in to a brand new us as we walk into 2021. Grateful, loving, kind to ourselves, in our own heads, and to others. And we can show up as the highest version of us because it feels amazing. So my blessings to all of you, brothers and sisters out there. We love you.
Thank you, Josh Richer. You know, it's this is a time of the show when it's frequent that I get chills. Not because I'm cold, but because I'm feeling the emotions. I'm feeling the energy. I'm feeling the wisdom. I'm feeling the love. I'm feeling the passion that each one of you, my co-hosts, bring to me in my life. There's no place I'd rather be than here with each of you tonight, our viewers, our listeners, those that show up, support the work we're doing, support the show, because it's not about the show. It is about the message. I get emotional because I never met men like you. You bring hope to me and inspire me each week to show up and grow up in my own life, to continue along the path, to follow my dreams, my passion, my purpose, to touch other people's lives. I want to thank you, Josh, Evis, and Jeff, in this moment, and honor all of you for being in my life and taking on this project with me. For those of you that are watching, we've made a decision that next Friday, we are going to show up. Real Men, Real Talk will be live. Same time, same station, Facebook and YouTube. And we're going to celebrate next week. We don't know what yet. We haven't talked about it, but we're going to be here. And if you are alone, if you think you're alone, you're not. Because as long as we're here, you're not alone. You're with us. And you never have to be alone again. As far as tonight's show goes, kind of holiday season being a blessing or a burden, we've dropped a lot of tools, a lot of nuggets in the show tonight. We talked about setting your what you want to get out of the moment when you walk into that environment, leaving with dignity and grace. Coming in with a plan, an exit plan. When you're done, you don't need to be the last person to leave the party. You don't need to take on your old role and pick up the house. You can just show up, be present. Being present can be your present, as Ev said so eloquently. Set loving boundaries for yourself. Be aware of how much you have maybe changed and grown, and maybe others that you see in that moment. And find gratitude in that. And let that present be enough as well. And for those that you may have lost or not present, celebrate. Celebrate the gift they gave to you. In the relationship, in the breath you and they shared while they were present. And with that, I love you guys. We'll see you next week on Real Men, Real Talk Live. Thank you, viewers. Please share it out. If you heard something that you enjoyed, that you found valuable in your life, please share it out in your community. And we'll catch you guys next week on Real Men, Real Talk Live.